it's Christy with the Chirp YouTube channel. Today I am here with 10 quick tips for you about how to get your child to sleep better. We call this sleep hygiene. Very much like tooth hygiene or skin hygiene, there are certain routines that we should be in the habit of doing that will help us sleep better. And it's especially important for kids. Those kids with diagnoses of autism or Down syndrome or cognitive delay or language delay or ADHD or many other diagnoses that a kid might receive oftentimes have difficulty sleeping as part of their overall challenges. And sometimes, especially in the case of ADHD, attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or any of those subtypes that are involved in that, sometimes a diagnosis can be no longer appropriate once a child is sleeping appropriately. Lack of sleep can cause all sorts of problems with attention, behavior, and overall development. We don't want that to be the case for our kids, so let's talk quickly here about how we can help. These 10 tips are in no specific order, so they don't go from most important to least important. So keep watching all the way through if this is an issue that you're struggling with. Tip number 1, make sure your child's room is pitch black. We can sense light through our skin. Even if we're wearing a mask, we can sense in our bodies that the light is on. And so wearing a sleep mask doesn't actually necessarily help if we actually have an internal difficulty with producing the right amount of hormones, melatonin specifically, to make us sleepy at the right times. Light is a big deal. You don't want a nightlight in your kid's room. If you have one, you can remove it after he goes to sleep. You don't want an alarm clock in your kid's room for various reasons, but one of them is because it has light. If you, like my brother and his wife, have kids who get up really early and you have gotten them a little clock that tells them when they can come out of their room, then put it in there after they go to sleep, not before. And turn it away from them or cover it up with something so that that light doesn't affect their sleeping patterns. Make sure that you have blackout shades on all the windows. These are special shades that you pull down. They're not like curtains, they're like a shade inside the window, and they really block out the light. So it can be noon and super sunny and your child's room will still be pitch black. Of course, we don't want our children sleeping at noon, because if they're trying to get on a regular sleep schedule, and we're talking about children that are not still taking naps, on a regular sleep schedule, we don't want them sleeping in the day because then they won't be sleeping at night. Number 2, no caffeine. I really mean it. Our bodies are very, very sensitive to caffeine. Some of us have taught our bodies how to stand more caffeine, but for most of us, our bodies are very, very sensitive, and we don't need that extra stimulant in our lives. If we are tired all the time and we need to be using caffeine to keep ourselves alert, there is a deeper problem than that we're just tired. We shouldn't need a drug to keep us awake, and we shouldn't be drugging our children. Soda with caffeine is a drug, to say nothing about the sugar and all the chemicals in it. Really, don't give your kids soda. It's terrible. And don't give them coffee. Most of us know this already. But keep in mind things like chocolate, things like hot chocolate. If you go to Starbucks, for example, and get your kid a hot chocolate, there's a lot of caffeine in there for a kid especially. Kids' bodies are smaller. Everything we give them affects them more. I know it seems harsh, but please, if this is an issue for you, consider eliminating the caffeine. You can find online different lists of foods and beverages that contain caffeine, and I will put a link to one of those down below. But really, anything that has caffeine in it is going to be a behavior changer for your kid. It's going to change what happens inside his or her body, and we don't want that. We do not want artificial things going into our children's bodies and changing how they behave and how their bodies work. That seems like a really bad plan, and in fact, it is a bad plan. In the same area of thinking about what we put in our children's bodies, eliminate artificial colors and artificial flavors. These are toxic. In fact, a lot of the artificial colors and flavors that we use in the United States, and in fact, many of the natural ones as well, so-called natural, are banned in other countries. We are very, very behind on the curve of recognizing dangerous chemicals and keeping them out of our food supply. You can do your own research on that topic, but let me tell you, I have done it, and I no longer allow foods in my house or in my classroom that have artificial or natural colors or flavors in them. They are dangerous. There is a lot of science showing that especially artificial colors change the way that kids' brains work. They do sometimes cause ADHD type symptoms, and they often cause changes in children's behavior. We don't want that. We don't need to contribute to a problem that we already know we have in a kid who has a diagnosis. And a kid who doesn't have a diagnosis, we still don't want to contribute to that behavior becoming a problem. Number 4, try to prevent your kid from going to bed too hungry or too full. You know your kid best, so you can figure that out, but just like with an adult, if we go to bed and our belly is too full of garbage food, then we're going to be burping, we might have reflux, or we just might have an aching stomach. That's no good for sleep. If our stomach is growling, on the other hand, we're going to be dreaming of food, and that isn't going to induce a nice relaxed state. Number 5, no screen time after dinner, or at least 1 hour before when you want your kid to be going to bed, going to sleep. Screen time affects how our bodies produce melatonin, and melatonin is a hormone that induces sleepiness at the appropriate time of the day. When it gets to a certain level of darkness, when we've been up for a certain amount of time, it's a miracle. Our body all of a sudden turns up the production of melatonin. If we are artificially changing how much melatonin our body is producing, we're not going to sleep well because we won't have enough melatonin. The answer to this is not simply to supplement with melatonin. The answer is to stop using things that are affecting our melatonin production. These things include television, other screens like iPads, laptops, cell phones, any other screen that is lit. I'm not sure about the Kindles that have no backlit. I think those are less objectionable, but I don't know that there's been a lot of research on them yet as well. So I would still be cautious with those and go with actual books if you are doing reading as an adult before bed. I know it's tough for your kids not to have screen time, but really it's better for everyone because screen time has been shown, especially at 3 and under, to delay development, especially in language. That's no good. Number 6, keep the room cool. About 68 to 70 degrees is ideal. We all sleep better when it's a little bit cool. We also sleep better when there's something heavy on top of us, so you might consider weighted blankets or just a lot of quilts, or maybe even sandbags or a quilt that you made yourself with sand in it. These things can provide a lot of really nice pressure, which is nice for some of our kids with sensory disorders. Number 7, kids should fall asleep in their own room. We want their room, and particularly their bed, to be a place that triggers their body to relax and go to sleep. If your daughter is always falling asleep in your bed and then you move her to her own bed is not going to trigger those feelings for her body. It's not going to induce sleep. We want her own bed to be the one that induces sleep. So she can get sleepy somewhere else, maybe on the couch while you're reading a book, but really it's best to do all of your bedtime routines in bed, in her own bed, and then let her fall asleep there. Number 8, make sure that kids are active. I know these days it's hard to get our kids to run around. It's hard to get them to go outside because we're afraid they'll get snatched. It's hard to get kids active when it's nasty outside. I know for most of the country, the time is coming up when it will be nice outside. Where I live, the time has already arrived where it's too hot for kids to play outside in the afternoon a lot of the time. I live in the Arizona desert. Right now it's only 99. It's still a little bit on the warm side for kids to be running around, and it will be through October. We need to have indoor ways of getting our kids to be active, as well as doing whatever we can to get them outside. So think of things like a trampoline, a dance routine that you do together. Think about a bicycle, a recumbent bicycle, or if your kids are really small, little tricycles they can ride around in the basement. There are lots of different options for getting kids active, even teaching a little rotation, a circuit rotation with them. Like here we do some jumpy jacks, and then we do some push-ups, and then we squiggle like a snake. You can make it very creative and fun, but our kids' bodies need to move. They need to work out their energy, and if they aren't, sleep isn't going to work very well. Number 9, use a consistent bedtime routine. You might read 2 short books, you might sing 2 short songs, and then you might have a little prayer time where you talk to God together. And then you turn the lights out and you leave the room and your kid goes to sleep. Make it consistent every single night. Don't bend it too much or your kids will really push it and try to flex your boundaries, and we don't want that. Number 10, no clock in the bedroom. Once again, this is a problem because of light, but it's also a problem because kids who know how to read the numbers on the clock can look at the numbers and get really tense because, well, I'm not asleep and it's already 10:00. Kids can get really focused on the numbers. And in fact, this happens to my husband. Sometimes having a clock in the room is bad for him because he'll wake up at 4 a.m. and then he'll think, I only have 2 more hours to sleep and I'm still really tired. And his brain gets in sort of an anxiety loop about the time and about getting back to sleep quickly and about falling asleep again at all and about dreaming, and you can start to spiral out of the sleep state and get anxious if there is measurement of what time it is. It's just better not to have a clock in there. If there needs to be a clock, don't have it be a clock that has a light on it. Maybe when you push it, the light comes on, but otherwise it's not. And you can also consider putting the clock in there after the child falls asleep, but having it facing the other direction or under the bed or in a drawer or something like that. So if the kid wakes up in the morning and doesn't know what time it is and needs to know if she can get out of her room yet, she can open the drawer and look at the clock. But she doesn't automatically think of that in the middle of the night. Also, if your child wakes up to an alarm clock at this time, try putting it in a drawer, because if you turn the volume up loud enough on the alarm clock, you'll still be able to hear it if it's in the drawer. But you won't be looking at it in the night, and the light, if there's a light on it, won't be shining on you and messing with your internal sleep cycles. Bonus, number 11. Number 11 is heat up your body and then cool it down. This might include a warm bath and then getting out and letting your body cool down. It might include doing some jumping jacks and then blowing the fan on yourself. There seems to be something about that temperature differential, that drop in body temperature, that triggers melatonin production. And so you might want to try that with your kid or with yourself. Extra super bonus, number 12, lavender oil. Lavender oil has been shown to induce sleep, to improve melatonin function, and to help people stay asleep longer. It also decreases anxiety. So if anxiety is a reason why you or your child isn't falling asleep, then lavender oil might help you. These are 10 thoughts to help you with helping your child to have better sleep hygiene. Maybe some of them will work for you also if you have difficulty sleeping. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!